Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 4 of the Simufur Silver Championship to a nice, wet Oulton Park. Joining me today is Paliku'i, although not usually versed in GT3s, he has decided to join us and fill Plasma's spot for this week. He can't join us. Introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Fez. Yes, I'm Paliku'i, ThatRacingDragon, and today with my buddy Fez here. If you're not familiar, I did the commentary back when we were on iRacing for the LMP2 Championship. That was a lot of fun. Today, stretching out a little bit, we got GT3 cars here with the Assetto Corsa Competizione, and we're here to have a good time as we're with Blade Wolf as Blade Wolf completes a lap here at Oulton. Very wet today, it's looking. We're hoping for mixed conditions later, but I mean, you never know. What challenges are these drivers going to be facing today?
Well, as you know, it's May and it's wet. It's the UK in a nutshell. What they're going to be hoping for is the tyres to keep the temperatures and just not overheat. That's the main aim for today, is to keep the tyres under wraps.
Yes, and one of the things I do know, a big difference between Assetto Corsa Competizione and iRacing is the tire model, specifically as Paula goes around and sets the fast lap, followed by Wershow right now, hovering at about, looks like 138.8. Going back to the tires, I mean, the tire model for ACC is really more advanced, very sensitive to changes in temperatures, lockups, and all sorts of energy you put through it, especially during the wet. You think that if it does get drier during the race, we may actually see some different strategies come into play in terms of tires?
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about the pit window, is that you kind of have to really keep an eye on the weather. If it shows dry in 10 minutes, but the pit window doesn't open for 20, what do you do? Do you pit and take a set of dries anyway? As at the moment we're actually seeing damp conditions on track, so it is actually drying out. So this does look like it's going to turn into possibly a strategy race rather than an outright pace race.
You see
Um,
a little bit of
yeah,
the tires going flying there from that little chicane there,
yeah.
going from, I think it's Hyssops to Knickerbrook, but uh,
The good old classic ACC tire barrier that weighs as much as a balloon.
very much so. But I mean, going into the championship right now, as far as I understand, Nick is currently leading, but not by a big margin. I believe last I checked, Nick was over at, I believe, was that 66 points against 55, I believe, from both Denak and Werschel. So, championship implications for today's race?
Yeah, there. It just goes to show you that you can have one good race and you're right back in the championship fight. Rochelle didn't really have. I think it's fair to say two fantastic races at the start of the season. Race 3 they won at Nürburgring, so that brought them right back into the hunt. And then at Denac, of course, he won race 1 and has since had not a good couple of races for himself. I'm sure he'll admit. So it's definitely all to play for at the moment. Uh, Nick could have a bad race today, and that just blows it all wide open again.
Yeah, exactly. And, you want to take any advantage and momentum you have and keep it going. One of the things that I do know about Nick in this championship is Nick has been consistent podiums throughout. I believe the first couple of races he was second in both of them, and that really contributes to your championship run. I know for a fact, going back to my experience with, I believe, the LMDHs in iRacing, one of the league championships I was in, I won 3 races, but the rest of them were 4th, 6th, and 3rd, and the guy that won only won 1 race, but was second in every other one. So it
Yeah,
just goes to show, most wins does not always equal championship victory.
absolutely. I've become a cropper of that myself. I actually won the RCI inaugural Silver Championship by winning no races and just finishing in I think it was the top 5 in all bar one race. So I came like second in 2 races,
That's
and
that's
then I
absolutely
think
incredible.
yeah, I won the championship by 1 point, which actually I attribute to the first race at Laguna Seca, where I was the only person who took tires, and it got me a fastest lap point, and that was it. I had no other points apart from a fastest lap point.
And also, just another note, we did get word from Take Gang Racing. I believe they're running a special livery today. You can see Denak running a nice bright green livery, and Denak's teammate Anka, I believe, is also green with a nice pink highlight in there. If you take a look, some nice stuff driving around the track today.
Well, at least we can definitely tell them apart this week. You know, the purple stands out a lot more than just different colored wing mirrors.
Yes, we'll be able to hopefully recognize them a little bit easier. I remember the first race you guys had. There was a little bit of difficulty there.
Yeah, I think they kind of took what we said on board and have since changed up the liveries quite a lot. So we're very easy to tell apart now from after race one.
And as we can see here too, we have a new driver on the grid, Slow Sergo here, and I mean in practice showing some real promise. Starting a move out of the pits, coming to a stop, maybe just parking it for now as you see Wershaw in front heading out. But I mean, if practice is any indication, it's going to be pretty close. That Porsche is looking real strong right now, though, up in front.
Yeah, Porsche showing again that it's kind of a wet master car, but we'll see how if we do end up getting a mixed conditions race, it might start showing a bit of weakness towards the front end of the car.
We'll see as practice is coming to a close here. So far right now, I mean, Wershaw up front. On a wet track, of course. We don't know what conditions are going to be for qualifying in the race, but you know, it's certainly going to be something to keep in mind, as I am being told here and noted that Slow Circle is actually that circle already in the championship. My apologies there. But, I mean, still, strong time so far from Slow Circle.
Yeah, I think that's one of the downsides of linking names to Discord, because everyone changes them so often.
That's I have I have difficulty myself following. I try and keep mine consistent, but, you know...
Yeah, I don't think I've ever changed mine.
At least it makes it easier if anybody else is looking from us if we're on the track.
That's true. That is true.
Yes, as practice comes to close here, I mean, as you can see, preliminary times here, Wershaw up in front, followed by Slow Circle, then Newbie Nick. Of course, Newbie Nick currently not finished yet, setting a pretty quick time coming around. We'll see as he pulls in, and yes, does set the fastest lap of of practice, and then the practice session instantly quits. So we're gonna wait for them to get started with qualifying here. But yeah, the weather is still looking damp, at least for qualifying. Do you think maybe if there is a chance that the race might start dry when everyone has been practicing for wet?
There's definitely a chance of it. I would say probably a slim chance, as we see well, at least I can see, the next 30 minutes in qualifying, the weather's actually going to get worse. So it actually is going to get wetter as the session goes on. So I think the early laps here are going to be crucial. Denak first out of the pits, and yeah, I think he kind of sees what I see. The earlier laps are going to be the quicker laps, so we need to get them done soon.
Yes, no, definitely. And oh, he takes a bollard out there from the chicane.
Rip.
I would be surprised if any of those are remaining at the end of the race, given how much these drivers push these cars around this circuit.
Yeah, this is probably one of the tracks where everything just gets thrown to the side once everyone starts, because it's just as we see more murdering of bollards there from Denak.
Denak just wanting to set the time. The cones better watch out when Denak's coming around. Denak's hunting.
Yeah. So we've just seen actually a change in the weather. The weather's going to stay stable for about 10 to 20 minutes, and then towards the end of the session, I think it's going to creep up. So they might be okay for just how stable the weather's going to be. It might just dry up a little bit off online with the cars running around, and then towards the end of the session, it might kick up a little bit in the wet conditions.
And then we're going to ride on board with Denak here as we take a look at this circuit. You come across turn 1, Old Hall Corner, coming down the avenue here. the tricky section with the elevation changes, and especially in the wet. You got to be careful of the bumps as you go through Dettons and Cascades here. A little wide on the apex there, but making the exit look good as he comes through Lakeside. And then Island Bend. This one is very, very crucial to get right, as if you go too wide and understeer, you end up in that wall. As then Denak brakes hard into Shell Oil's corner, coming around here, and then coming up to Britain's. Britain's right here. It's a nice little chicane. You got to make sure you get the entrance right as you maximize your speed out, because if you don't, you set yourself up for a bad exit through Hilltop, and it's crucial here because if there's going to be any overtaking opportunities, this may be one of the best places to get someone. As we come into Hilltop's here, coming through the chicane, hitting the right apex, hitting the late apex there on the left, coming through Knickerbrook. Hits the apex there well, and hitting that car, making the Ferrari nice and stable, coming through Clay Hill here, then going through Water Tower. Now Druid's corner here, one you have to flow really nicely, almost take it like a double apex corner here, as it gets down and puts the power through as he comes through the end of the lap, coming through Lodge Corner, the other possible overtaking spot here, but it is going to be difficult, so you have to make sure you get all your exits set up right, as then you come through the dip through Deer Leap, and that concludes a lap here at Oulton Park.
Is there anything more satisfying than corner names at a British track?
It's at least, they're all really nice and descriptive. I don't want to get into the Nürburgring's
yeah,
layout. That's
the sponsored corners don't have anything on the just the name of what they look like.
No.
I think that's how like British tracks or corners are named, just what they look like.
Yeah, and so Denak setting a lap right now, first time on the board, then followed by Luna, and then we have, of course, the ultimate punting machine. I believe that's MN underscore.
Yeah.
And again,
Another quality name.
Yep, it's certainly a challenge for our broadcasting software to pick up. But don't worry, we'll keep you guys informed of that. But yeah, no, the times right now coming in looks like, about mid 139s. The midfield right now, it's about mid 140s. Really close though, all the way around.
Yeah, the Ferrari's showing a little bit better pace this time around in the wet, so hopefully we can see some good fights up front.
But Oraz right now looks like setting a really good time. We'll see.
Yeah, he is.
And
7/10 up on his current time. Sorry, 7/10 up on his overall time.
Yeah, I believe his previous time of a 140.4. So we'll see. It's going to be close to see where Oraz actually qualifies here. Is coming through Lodge Corner here, taking that dip through Deer Leap. We'll see where RS puts himself.
Just shy. It is just going to be
just
T1 by 5/1000ths of a second.
5 thousandths as a bollard goes flying into the air.
It was a victory bollard smash.
Victory bollard smash there.
So yeah, I think we're getting into the crucial laps here now at qualifying. The track's giving a little bit of lap time up, so it's starting to maybe dry out a little bit before it gets wetter. So these laps are crucial here.
Yeah, and as we can see here, we're going to go over with Blade Wolf right now, also up 0.8 on their previous time of a 140.2, up a second coming through Druid's corner. This is going to be a really quick time. Wershow coming on across the line with a 138.85, and Blade Wolf improving to second with a 139.51. So yeah, definitely tires are getting the temperatures in, coming into those windows, but Wershow putting that really strong time up there, up around, oh, goodness gracious, about 7/10.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere on my timing screen because it didn't show that she was up at all, and then just as soon as she crossed the line, boom, straight to the top of the times.
Yeah.
So that was obviously her first valid lap of the session.
Of course, we say up 7/10, and then meanwhile, Newbie over there making sure that Werschel's not alone, setting a time of 138.97. So, yeah, the competition is definitely there today, and the conditions are just gonna make it for a challenging race here. We'll see who can, if it's going to turn out to be strategy or maybe a little luck.
Yeah, I think Newbie wants this win. You know, it's all well and good being second in place, but everyone wants to win. And when you have the pace for 3 races in a row, but are just second best, you know, it's really annoying. You really want that win.
Yeah, that's true, and definitely, you know, you're on the top of the standings, but this is where you really start to see for when drivers have that sort of mentality for a season-long challenge for a championship. You know, going for wins is, you know, one thing, but when you know you have the championship lead and you know you have it by at least a little bit of a margin, you can gauge your expectations accordingly. Of course, you know, everyone wants to win, and getting a win down in this championship would definitely be something for Nick, but I mean, holding that championship lead, as you said, one bad race, one bad turn on this course could do it, and hopefully Nick can keep it on track for the rest of the session.
Yeah, well, I think if it finishes up like this, you know, 900ths of a second away, this will be a race won on the pit lane, regardless of what the weather's like. It's going to be, you know, nose to tail. I think these two are going to be pretty much nose to tail the whole race, and the pit stops are going to really factor in here.
Yeah, definitely. As we look at ThatRacingDragon here, I mean, up a couple of tenths, not going to be enough close to get to Newbie at the moment. However, you know, you want to increase any advantage you have, especially in qualifying. And I would say most certainly on this track, as we take a look, we're going to go ahead and go take a look at the heli view while we're watching ThatRacingDragon. But look at the track width. You're not going to have many opportunities to make moves here.
No, it's one of the old school tracks. You know, it's probably about 2 cars wide if you're lucky. I say probably Cascades if you're lucky. If you get a good run out of turn one, you can get down Denton's and then through to Cascades. The next one probably into Britain's again. You need a good run out of Shell Oils. The next kind of the organic probably overtaking spot would be Hislops and probably Druids into Lodge. So there's kind of 3 corners there in sequence where they're kind of your only overtaking spots on the track, just through pace alone, rather than actually getting a good run on someone. As we see then Slow getting a little bit caught up there at Britain's in the nice big sausage curb on entry.
Yeah, just a bit there, going a little bit wide there, possibly some understeer, and just a little bit too much speed into Britain's there. But yes, no, to your point about the, you know, organic overtaking spots here, you really just have to set up every move that you want to make, and you need to be precise with it, because on this course, especially the old school tracks, you know, it rewards those that start up in front, but it also rewards those that can drive really clean and get really nice exits. So, you know, you can have that advantage up through, at least like you said, Britain's there coming to Shell Oil's corner, but you got to set up every opportunity. And most likely what we're probably going to see is a lot of pressuring, because I believe it's going to be a lot easier to capitalize on mistakes here than try and consistently set up a move.
Yeah, I think it's a strange one, because if you want to, like, stay overtaking Lodge Corner, for example, you're going to be setting that pass up from Hislops. You're going to be setting it up from there. You know, so you're probably about 3 corners behind where you actually want to overtake as to what you're actually going to be doing to the driver. You know, you want to maybe show them the nose a little bit, put them off into Knickerbrook. Coming up then into Druids, you know, they're offline then, and then that sets you up for maybe an inside pass into Lodge Corner. But yeah, it's not something you just do on a whim around this track. You really have to think about it.
Yes, and of course, you know, what we don't mention here is that this is a silver championship. This is much a learning opportunity as it is competition for these drivers on this course. And one of the things that, you know, makes a great driver, even in sim racing, is being able to understand when opportunities might arise, and to also display the patience to capitalize on them without being, I'd say, overzealous would be the word.
Yeah, you don't want to be greedy, especially on a track like this. It's definitely more of a patience game than it is just a brute force, shove it up the inside and see what happens game. Especially in the wet as well. It can very easily go wrong in a very big way very quickly.
Yes, as we reach about the 7-minute 30-second mark here in qualifying, everything seems to settle down. However,
Yep,
Nick
I'm just
right
seeing
now
there
is up
newbies.
3/10 from,
Yeah,
I believe, his previous time. Really searching for the lead here.
yep, this could be a provisional pole. Wishell, a little bit of improvement, 1/10 up, but Nick's. Oh, and he
Oh,
goes a little bit wide there coming
yeah,
out.
Nick goes wide there. I believe that's
Coming out of
Druids.
Druids. Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's
that's
unfortunate it was a good 5/10 improvement there, so just calm it down, start over again.
very much so. And we know,
Maybe I think with 7 minutes to go, I'd be probably putting new tires on.
no, looks like Nick's going to go for another run here.
As we do see, then Wishel goes 2/10 quicker, I think.
Worshel right now is
Oh no,
going
they
to,
haven't improved it. They are about
yeah,
4.
three,
Okay, they gained a
four, four
lot of
tenths
time
here.
there through
Ooh.
large corner and deer leap.
Yep, this is going to be a new fastest time for Worshel, a 138.495. Very good,
That
strong
looks
lap
like
here.
they're either maybe judging by that, either going for new tires or that's probably it. They might not be able to improve. Might not think they can improve at all from that. But newbie Nick, a little bit of improvement into sector one, but not anything to shout home about. I think all their time kind of came in towards the final sector.
Yeah, it seemed that way, although, you know, so did Worshel, it looked like. Worshel was maybe around hovering at about a tenth faster throughout the course, and then through the last corner, it looked like Worshel gained 3/10.
Yeah, really good drive off of large corner, excuse me, into deer leap. That's such a lovely part of track. Give it this tight right hander down the hill, back up again. A lot of lap time come from there as long as you get a good exit.
Yes, and I was actually talking earlier with a few of the drivers before the drivers meeting, and you know they were talking about how the over opportunities are pretty much the overtaking opportunity is going to be pretty much slim to none, and how difficult it is. But you know they were saying this track is great fun with the touring cars or GT4s, and I have to agree, it's a lot of fun with smaller cars.
Yeah, it's GT3s are maybe just a tiny little bit too big for this racetrack. But I say the likes of touring cars, lots of door-and-door contact, lots of bumping. It's a really good spectacle. See, Nick down through Cascades there has gained about 2/10 on their current lap. So maybe this can be the lap to put them into P1.
We'll see. Surprisingly enough, if we look further down the order, Danek has been unable to improve on that 139.6 so far, and you know, Anka as well. It's Tig Gang Racing. Looks like they're struggling a little bit out there today.
Yeah, I wonder. Well, I hope that Donington at the start of the season wasn't a one-off, and we see these guys get a little bit quicker. But they do seem to be struggling in the wet conditions that we had last week and this week. Just maybe hoping for maybe a drier race and going towards a dry setup. But you can see kind of Wishel and Nick and maybe even Slow Circles are kind of leaning towards a wet setup. And definitely shows on the lap times.
Yeah, it definitely shows. I mean, we see here, Danek on this lap is improving a little bit, up 3/10, going through Britain's, through Hilltop. And as we also notice on the timing screens, Newbie was up 4
Yeah,
tenths.
they kind of lost it all coming out of Druids again. I think they went maybe a little bit too deep and it showed, a good gain and then a big loss. But
Still
certainly
gonna
about 2/10 improvement here, but not gonna trouble Wishel.
no, not at all. I mean, does improve the time slightly with a 138.8, but still 4/10 off as we see Nick there pull off and getting ready for another run here.
Might be a little bit too late for new tires. You'll get new tires on and get out, but I don't think you'll get them into their window.
No, I
I
don't
think you need about
think
2
so.
or 3 laps before they really start giving you the bite.
Yeah.
Michelle might have timed that perfectly and getting new tires on. Maybe we went a little bit long.
Yeah, and I do want to point this out. Right now, every single driver on the grid is between a 138.4 and a 139.8. We have a 1.4 second difference between every driver here today.
We also have like a Porsche sandwich as well. Porsche at the top and Porsche at the bottom.
little Porsche sandwich there for everybody.
I never actually understand that because technically it's not a Porsche sandwich because that would be the meat, or that would be the bread. The Porsche would be bread. You don't call if you put ham in the middle of two pieces of bread.
Yeah.
It's not a bread. It's not a bread sandwich.
I'm actually curious about this one. Let's see here. We got a Porsche in front and a Porsche last. We got a couple of BMWs there.
Let's ask the YouTube chat what kind of sandwich we have here.
What kind of sandwich do we have here, chat? It's an interesting one.
So I think there's more Ferraris there than anything else. So it's probably a Ferrari sandwich with some BMW dressing.
Yeah, that's BMW dressing. The Aston Martin's the lettuce, and what is the Mercedes the tomato?
It's the sauce, probably.
It's the sauce.
Yeah.
Yes, and we're coming down here, and it looks as though for now everything's gonna stay as it is. Conditions don't seem to be improving enough for the track to offer quicker times here.
Yeah, I think both Michelle and Nick have called it a day, and that's going to be them. No more driving from.
So we got horse sandwich and sausage sandwich so far as the suggestions. What do you think, Fez?
A horse sandwich, that makes sense because the Ferrari badge is obviously the prancing horse. So what we got the sausage? I don't know where the sausage sandwich is coming from. That just could be an innuendo I'm missing.
Nope, this is a perfect suggestion for this course. It's a Tesco meal deal.
German horse meat with HP sauce. The HP, I suppose the Aston Martin would probably be the HP sauce, wouldn't it? Everything else.
Yeah, I think the Aston Martin would be. We don't have the Lexus here. Shucks.
Ah, no.
That would definitely be the HP sauce.
A little bit of a wasabi in there from Lexus, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, as we conclude,
we're starting to get into the bad suggestions here. We'll not read any more than we won't.
But as we run through the following the ending seconds here in qualifying, right now we're showing a provisional poll here, and I believe the top three have all pitted, so they're not going to be improving their times. Denak, unfortunately, just ran really wide out of Druids. Oh, and manages to hold on for dear life as Denak pulls off. We go here to MN underscore as they're taking around the track again. But I have to say, as far as, the displays from these drivers, I can't argue with the time difference between all of them. It's very competitive.
Yes, of course it's a slightly shorter track, so the gaps won't be quite as big between the fastest and the slower drivers. But 1.3 seconds kind of setting us up for a pretty good race here.
Definitely so, and I'm actually looking forward to the start of this one. It's going to be certainly interesting. I'm more curious than anything on what the weather is going to look like.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping for at least maybe a dry start with rain in 10 minutes, because then that would force everyone into either staying out before the pit window opens or going in and just changing tires anyway, even though that's not going to count towards their mandatory pit stop.
That's going to probably throw a bunch of the drivers at a loop too, because I believe that most of them have been practicing for wets.
Yeah, as you can tell, chaos.
Start with dry setups that nobody used.
As we see, Blade maybe on the fringes of improving here, could snatch third away from slow circle, but he's going to have a good run out of Lodge Corner here.
Going to have an amazing run out of Lodge. It doesn't look
he does actually get it. No, he kind of gained on the way in and lost it again on the way out.
And so that's going to conclude the qualifying here right now as it stands. Wow, that was an interesting qualifying to say the least, as we take a look now at the results in qualifying, and wow, what an interesting result. I mean, we have Wurshow, of course, up there with that Porsche, and being in the wet, that's certainly something.
well, you can see the time gain there on the Porsche in the second and third sector, where it's all about. I think the two chicanes are kind of the big time gainers there for the Porsche.
Very much. As I mean, we can see the fastest sectors there were from Wershaw from sectors 2 and 3, but Nick showing the BMW has some push and get up going through in the rain with a nice sector 1 and getting P2 on the grid.
Yep, I think gonna have to be brave into turn 1 with that Porsche. That Porsche is gonna be mega off the line. Newbie's gonna need kind of all the kind of free space he can get towards the front of that gap and try and maybe send it down the inside.
Yeah, and
Other than that, it's going to be nose to tail pretty much until pit stops, I think.
probably line of stern for the majority of this race, but you never know. Again, that's what racing is, and we don't know until the green flag drops, and we don't know the ending until the checkered flag flies. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to this one. There's a lot of potential for some fireworks here today, and hopefully we'll be able to show you all of that here today.
Yeah, I think someone in chat has just kind of described Oulton Park perfectly as 3 go-kart tracks in a trench coat. Masquerading as a racetrack.
Let's just picture that now. Got like three go-karts stacked on top of each other.
As we do, the weather kind of sorts itself out here in the race. It's looking like drizzle for the first 30 minutes at least. So I think we could maybe see the track drying up here towards the end of the race.
Yeah, very much so here, as we are going to go ahead and go over the grid today for the race. Pardon that introduction to the loading. That unfortunately there, but as we can see, Wershaw up on top with a 138.495, an impressive and strong run. That Porsche, of course, very good in the rain, coming through there, as Wershaw does take the front spot and pole position here today, followed by newbie Nick with an impressive time as well. As we saw before, he had that very good sector 1, setting that purple sector there, and then starts second place here on the grid and rounds out your first row. Coming to the second row here, we have that circle, slow circle here, in that nice looking Ferrari there. Also not very far behind, and rounding out the second row, Blade Wolf there, with also a strong time there as well. Fifth place start here, we have RS Volpes, followed by Denak. Not as strong as he would hope, but of course, anything can happen in the race as Denak can stick it up there with the leaders. It may be a very good race for him as well. Then we have the ultimate punting machine, MN_ here, with that nice Hooters Ferrari there. Then led Paul Racing's Paula Brandy in 8th place. And then rounding out your final row here today, we have Anka in that number 40 Ferrari there, followed by Luna, rounding out that Porsche sandwich, as we said before here. And that is your grid today for the race at Oulton Park.
Yep, so track conditions are showing wet, so the drivers will have to have all their rain lights on, but we are showing maybe light and medium rain for the first 30 minutes of this race at least. We don't know until we hit that 30-minute mark what it's going to be like for the rest of the race, so there definitely could be some dry running here. Well, we hope there's going to be some dry running, but we just never know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to say the least. At least when I saw the forecast before starting, it looked like it was going to be around light rain to about 30 minutes in. But, I mean, as you said before, if they manage and the track manages to dry out a bit, it's going to throw a wrench in most likely the strategies that these drivers have.
Yep, I think this is definitely, I think regardless of the weather, going to be a race won or lost in the pits. So Michelle's going to be praying for probably the most perfect pit stop they can ever hope to have. And Newbie's going to hope for either a mistake on Whistle's end in the pits or just a better pit stop overall.
And as we can see here, the drivers now starting their warm-up lap here as the formation lap is go. Wershaw, of course, leading the pack here. They come around, followed by Nick right there behind. And so it's going to be a relatively short formation lap. Of course, Oulton Park being short, but, you know, it's getting the tires warmed up here is crucial and getting it into temperature window, especially in the start of a rain course. It's gonna all end up to see who's gonna come down turn 1.
Yep, I think regardless of how you look at it, Russell's probably going to come out with that Porsche with the strong start that has and naturally aspirated, no turbo lag, so it's going to be a good jump off the start. And Newbie's going to probably hope to kind of rein them in a little bit into turn 1, and then after that it's anyone's kind of call.
I just have to compliment how beautiful ACC is. One of the things that I actually really like about this game is the fidelity it has, and, you know, it really brings you into that immersion of racing ever so much better.
Even when it's wet, it looks good.
Yeah. So where's our rain iRacing?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be looking forward to that or not. As you kind of touched on earlier, ACC kind of, I think it puts higher physics kind of above everything else, as that's probably the kind of the main thing between you and the track. Whereas iRacing kind of does the opposite. It's kind of, let's kind of worry about the tires after everything else.
Yeah, and I really think that that's a detriment to that sim, and you know, a real compliment to see, you know, how ACC really wanted to focus on that feel of the car. Because that's, you know, tire modeling is extremely important when it comes to simulations. Because that's what's really going to dictate how you feel the car interact with the road. It's the tires.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I shunned ACC at one point for iRacing because of how the tires felt. And then they kind of pushed me away with like 6 updates with like tires, and I was like, no, I wasn't feeling it anymore. So that kind of pushed me towards ACC again, as ACC then kind of focused more on that tire model with the 1.8 update, and I think leaps and bounds above everyone else. Apart from maybe R Factor has a look in there, but yeah, let's kind of look towards the race here.
Yep, as they
line up.
Come in through Lodge Corner, they're all set here, ready to go, raring as they line up very closely, as we have an hour of racing ahead of us, waiting for those green lights to show as they come down to the start-finish line, and the green light is out. There's the green flag. As you can see, Worship coming up in front, Nick still hanging side by side, but there you go. Worship does take that apex into turn 1, and behind we got a few side-by-sides there, as I believe Derek and Orez are fighting, and I believe Paula going off track a little bit. Oh, and Nick comes in, and Nick spins after making contact with Worship, and oh, Nick is now down all the way to the bottom of the order. Worship, unfortunately, getting through that unscathed, keeping control of the car, and Blade Wolf as well, also managing to forward themselves through that unfortunate incident between Worship and Nick. And with that, now Nick has a huge challenge ahead of him. Now needs to work his way from the back to the front. Oh,
yeah, that was a bit unfortunate there from Nick. Just got a little bit too keen going into Cascades and just kind of outbraked himself. We shall maybe be a little bit too cautious, but at least they came off the better. They didn't really have anything affect them out of that. Newbie's going to have a big job ahead of them.
Newbie's going to have a massive job ahead with that, and it didn't look like there was much damage there, but of course, anything to unsettle the car, especially in the rain, is just going to exacerbate any other issues you have, and it was on full display there. As we're going to go ahead and go back to that and see what happened there, and see what happened to Nick. As we can see, we're on board with Nick here.
It's a good run out of the first turn, and Rochelle maybe just, let me see if there's a dab of the brakes here.
Yeah, just a bit, and then
opens the door a little bit for Nick, and Nick tries to kind of send a BMW.
I do give credit to the rest of the field, as you saw there before it cut back to live. They managed to avoid Nick, and what could have been a much more massive incident is, whoa, we see, I believe, MN underscore go really wide there out of Cascades, managing to keep it together, but now MN underscore falling back too, and this is the story so far. Just one big mistake, and now you have to fight again all the way from the back.
Interestingly, the car's running around. The track is now damp, so it's not full wet. We could see these tires kind of shredding themselves to bits here in a few laps if the drivers haven't got the temperatures under control.
The biggest winner from everything that happened is Dat Sergo. I mean, making up a position from there, and now just in clean open air between Werschel and Blade Wolf behind. You couldn't ask for better fortunes for a start of a race.
Yeah, I think everyone done really well to keep it out of the side of Newbie's BMW there. Smaller grid, so maybe that helped things. Newbie then can kind of soak up that mistake and try their best to try and get on the back of MNU there. And maybe hope for a top 5 at the end of this race if they can keep their cars right.
Hopefully, meanwhile, as we can see, Werschel doing the fast lap there of a 139.3. You know, just starting the race, but Werschel starting to pull that gap up there as, well, I'd say you did predict. Strong lead so far, getting around 3.5 seconds, almost to 4. Losing a little bit there from Cascades, but that's just the corner.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at both cars as well. It looks like neither sustained any kind of damage, so that's good for both of the drivers and good for us as well. We don't want to see anyone kind of take themselves out of a race with damage.
No, and we know Nick has the pace to catch up to this field, but the challenge is going to be working their way back up to the front. That's a tall order, especially on this course.
Yeah, I think, you know, catching the pack's one thing, making the moves cleanly to get past is quite another. So it's definitely going to be hard for Nick to improve. If it were me, I would just keep a really good eye on that weather, see what it's doing, and probably delay my pit stop as long as possible, depending on what that does.
Yeah, and then we have a line of stern of cars here, I believe, from 5th all the way down to 9th place, as we see Paula here attacking Denak, but you know, just trying to see if there's a move there, trying to see if there's a potential pass, but it's all going to be from the setup work.
Yep, I think maybe if the guys have went towards a bit of a drier setup, it could come into favor with this damp track. It'll maybe give the tires a little more purchase. But again, we're kind of still seeing the rain continue, so it's not looking like it's going to be dry at any stage so far this race.
Well, someone should tell Werschel that, as Werschel's now set another fastest lap, and their pace seems to be improving. Oh, but meanwhile, Nick behind, yes, as we saw, as we discussed, he has the pace, now setting the fastest lap of a 139.2. But again, he's got to work for it.
Yep, catching MNU about 2 seconds a lap so far, as of course you would expect. Cars being in a bunch, they aren't driving their fastest, whereas Nick has a nice clean track ahead of him, so he can kind of train up to the back of that.
Yeah, and just as an idea of how, you know, difficult it is going to make a move, we're going to ride on board here with Paula. Paula's been on the back of Denak for a few laps now. You know, as you can see, you gotta set up anything you can for exits rather than, you know, corner entry. You can't really do those dives, and you know, with the closing speed nearly identical throughout these cars, it's difficult to make a move.
Yep, the GT3s kind of, they're all different cars, but they all have relatively the same kind of performance-wise with the BOP adjustments and stuff per track. The Mercedes, of course, doesn't seem to be able to stretch its legs as much as it would like to on this tight, twisty track. The Ferrari, it's a new car. I don't think anyone really knew what to expect from that coming in. The Porsche, again, it showed really good promise in the wet last week at Nürburgring, so I think we all kind of expected it to be another good round for the car coming into Oulton Park.
And as you know, another teammate here, Anka, I mean, the Tig Gang Racing team, you know, making a little bit of a move up thanks to the unfortunate mishap of Nick, as we're going to actually go back to him right now. It's already caught up back to
Ooh.
MN underscore. As MN underscore goes real wide there in Old Hall corner and just makes it really easy for Nick to go by. Really probably just staying out there to not interrupt Nick's charge.
I think Nick would like 9 more of those, please.
I'm sure Nick would be very appreciative for that. Oh, as we see Luna up ahead.
Oh,
it's an incident. Oh, Nick managing just barely to make it by. Whoa, what an incident there. We're going to actually go ahead and take a look back, see what happened. Looks like there was just a spin there.
Yeah.
As we take a look, this is Luna.
All Nick needs is 8 more of those, and, you know, we're going to be golden.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you said, I think might have just gone wide here at Island Bend. Yeah, it just hit grass.
The grass.
Oh, it manages just to miss. Oh, Nick barely. Yeah. As you can see, they got a split to get by Luna there.
Possibly, maybe stalled the car in that half spin and then had to get it restarted, which is why they kind of just sat in the middle of the track. Nothing they could really do to kind of get out of Nick's way there, but Nick done very well to not hit them.
Yeah, that was super close. Thankfully,
yeah, like I was saying, only 8 more of those to go, and Nick will be right there with Wishel.
I mean, at this rate, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, Nick's scaring everyone into making mistakes at the moment.
Yeah, let's say we don't assume like that certain Wurschel there, he's already 2 out of the 8 cars away.
Yeah,
25% of the way there.
Only 3.5 seconds away from the back of Anka, who's another 1.5 seconds off the back of Paula. So, yeah, it wasn't an ideal start to the next race, but it's looking like a good recovery drive at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, and again, as you said, this can be won and lost in the pits. Who knows? Maybe something will happen to Wurschel in the pits later on. Maybe something will tie up other drivers. Maybe they'll all run off track as Nick's coming up behind him.
Yeah, maybe he kind of bribed them all before the race. You know, if I make a mistake, just kind of crash or something. I don't know.
There's the big wide boy coming through. They're all giving way.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll get a bit of an update on the weather in the next couple of minutes, as it kind of does it in 10-minute increments. So we're nearly at 10 minutes into this race. So hopefully we can get a bit of an update and see.
Oh, as we can see there, Denna looks like he made a little bit of mistake coming out of, I believe that was Knickerbrook. But you can see no matter how hard Paula pushes, you just cannot capitalize on that if you're not close enough.
Yep. Of course, you can't use all the runoff area in the wet. Otherwise, you'll probably do what Luna did and half spin it. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of purchase for the car to kind of make a move, anything other than a mistake from the other driver.
And right now, it looks like the times, or at least the mid-pack, are hovering right around the 140.5s, 140.2s, right around there. However, Nick's last lap was a 139.1. Faster than Wurschel's lap, our leader, a 139.2. So, I mean, overall, Nick is catching up.
Yeah, I think, again, it's going to be tough for Nick to kind of win this race now, judging by, or not judging by, you know, because of what happened at the start of the race. He kind of needs a mistake from Wurschel. Maybe if he has a good pit stop and everyone else doesn't, then I can see him getting at least on the podium. But he has the good pace here. He just kind of needs to get past. Let's see how he gets past Anka here.
Yeah, let's see how he gets past Anka. We're going to go and ride on the wing of Anka right now. As you can see right behind there, that is Nick looking and attacking now.
The BMW just really strong on the brakes there compared to the Ferrari. The Ferrari maybe a little bit nervous in the wet conditions with the mid-engine. Nice stable BMW behind. You know, that's going to be...
It seems Nick was a little tentative there, actually, coming through. As Nick's losing a little time, but this is where the BMW shows its strength. These middle speed corners right here. But Anka just making the Ferrari look really planted, and so yeah, no, the challenge is on. Nick has the pace, but Nick needs to be making those inroads, and delaying any sort of attack or action may come back to bite him.
Yep, just needs to calm down, just sail up to the back of Anka here to see what's what, and then maybe start putting the moves on. kind of see how Anka responds rather than just going straight up to the back and sending it.
It's you look at it and you can take a look. The Ferrari obviously goes.
Is that Anka maybe finding a bit of wet track there, or
I
is
think
it,
Anka just let him by.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So maybe
Meanwhile,
kind of bribery.
Arez, I believe, went wide there as you saw on your screen really quickly. And then Arez has to fall down the order and now has to wait. We'll see what happened. It might have went wide there, and I believe that was Island Bend. We'll take a look at that real quick.
So yeah, coming around Ireland here again, same thing, just a touch on the grass.
Same thing.
Half spin.
Unfortunately,
that was actually full spin that time.
Yeah, this time, RS had to go way wide, and this right here is the unfortunate side effect of that. Yeah. Now you have to wait for everyone to go by.
It's the right thing to do, but of course it's really painful to as it happens. But
of course,
again, there we go. In the space of 2 corners, Newbie has gained 2 positions. So yeah, it's definitely not all plain sailing out the front here for Wishel at the moment. The way Nick's getting through this traffic.
Yeah, and then as we saw, I mean, I think Anka just let Nick go, knowing that Nick has massive pace on the field. But I don't picture these drivers letting Nick by that easily.
No, I think that was a bit of a submission from Anka there. Maybe just not feeling too confident in this condition. But I don't see him getting past Paula just quite as quickly as Anka just let him pass there.
No,
Paula's in this fight, and wants to get past Danak more than kind of caring about Nick behind her.
Yeah, and Paula has been, at least putting the pressure on, very well. And so, Paula's, I don't foresee Paula's going to give this position up. But, to your point of Anka there, Anka did talk to me a little bit before this race. And, Anka has not had the practice, that he wanted. And so, that could just be very well just go for the points instead of trying to fight and then risking your race. And I'd say that's pretty smart, knowing your level for this track, is I believe this is Anka's first time on Oulton Park.
Well, that certainly explains why. As we
Paula.
see Paula go off there, but doesn't seem to lose any kind of pace towards Newbie there. Maybe just kind of pushing a little bit too hard to try and keep Nick behind her.
Yeah, possibly, as now Paula has fallen off of Danak about 2 seconds, but of course the worry isn't with that. The worry is with Newbie behind, as we're going to go on the wing of Paula there in the...
Are we actually going to see Newbie make an on-track overtake that wasn't given to him this race?
I think we might. As you can see, look at that. The speed gained a little bit. Nick has to back out just a little to avoid an incident that, as we're on board with this Lead Paul Racing Toblerone car, you can see Nick behind, definitely on the attack now. We'll see if possibly he makes the move out of Cascades. And Paula goes very wide. And now they're side by side, I believe, as they come through Island Bend. This is not the place you want to be side by side. And
He's
of course,
already not.
Yeah, Paula is gonna pull out and back, letting Nick by. And yes, there we go. We saw an overtake on track.
Yep. At least he didn't get it handed to him.
Yeah, the rare Oulton Park overtake, and here it is.
Yeah, I think Cascades is probably the wrong place to defend. It's a really hard track to pass, or corner to pass at. So I think you just kind of run your own line out of that corner. Otherwise, the off camber of Cascades just gives the other driver a run. It's a really good corner to kind of get a nice run on someone if they choose to defend there. So that was probably the wrong call from Paula to defend. Yeah,
but I think Paula did realize that, as of course, it just once you get there, you do not want to be on the outside of Island Bend. You just don't. It is, as we already saw twice, you hit the grass there and you spin out. But even worse is if you go all the way in the grass, then you go into that wall at Shell Oil's corner. And
those barriers don't move like the other barriers do.
I've hit that wall in the sim a couple of times. It's not fun.
So I've actually managed to thread the needle through the gap and completely sideswipe someone coming through that corner. So yeah, not the nicest thing to do.
Yeah. As we take a look here, Blade Wolf was making inroads with that circle, but unfortunately lost a lot of time, as we saw coming out of, I believe that was Old Hall corner. Just, the Aston's got the power, but you gotta be careful in the wet. You can understeer if you're under too much power coming out of corners.
Yep, the Aston, a little bit of turbo lag, but it has a lot of downforce, so it kind of, it's some worst enemy. It does have the speed around some of the high speed corners here, but kind of out of the slower corners, it just doesn't feel nice to drive at all.
Yeah, and so, I mean, of course, credit right now where credit is due. Werschel up in front, just racing a killer race. Up 9 seconds, and I know Werschel's controlling the gap. Possibly want to get further up, as, you know, that will mitigate for any mistakes, possibly when the pit strategy comes. But, of course, who's on the charge? None other than Nick, who's now on the back of Denak, has gone from 7 seconds from the pack to now fighting, and oh, Nick goes wide! Oh, really wide, going through the Druids!
He's going to lose that spot back to Paula.
Now he's going to lose that spot back to Paula on the rejoin, possibly Anka. No, Anka's going to hold back, and oh, I feel the need to say sorry to that one, because might have been commentator's curse there a little bit.
Commentator's curse strikes again. Yes, so that's a bit unfortunate for Nick. He was making good headway up to Danak there. He was about 1.5 seconds behind, and is now a good 4 seconds behind Danak now, so lost a couple of seconds there.
Yeah, but now has to fight Paula again, and I think Paula has learned her lesson from the last time from, you know, Nick, and I'm pretty sure she's going to put up a better defense here. We'll see. Ooh, getting real close as we're going to ride on board with Nick and see the action, and you can see how well he drives through this.
Yep, Paula will, of course, want to try and keep him behind this time, but Nick has shown he's not impervious to a couple of mistakes. Just as you can see there, actually, Paula getting a good drive out of Britain's up towards Hislops. As we see Nick closing up again, but yes, Paul got a good drive there and a nice wide line.
Just a note, as you take a look at the rear view mirror, that is Anka that's right behind too, following on that train. As a matter of fact, it looks like Anka is doing a little bit better on their exits. Oh, as I say that, Anka goes really wide there.
We stop talking for a minute and stop commentating, cursing everyone.
I gotta talk! That's my thing!
As the pit window has now opened, so we might see a couple of cars in here for some tires, I think.
We'll see. And Newbie, yeah, straight for it.
I think that's the right call for Newbie. Even though there's still 20 minutes of pit window.
Yeah, Anka right behind.
Might be changing. You know, it's good. Just get some fresh boots on and get some fresh air in front of you, and then you can use kind of the track to your advantage.
That is true, but you know, the one thing you got to keep in mind, this is a short track, and so you may end up, you know, hopefully not fighting traffic. As I can see on my timing screen, Werschel is only halfway through the course, so by the time that these drivers head out, they'll still be on the lead lap. So that's what it's looking like right now. I believe they're all taking tires?
Yeah, you would need... There would be no reason to not take tires, even though it's wet. The wet tires, the difference between worn and fresh wet tires is probably something like 3 seconds a lap. So there's probably no reason to kind of keep them on. You could do it if you've been kind to your tires. You could keep the tires on. Especially if, you know, it is looking like it's going to dry out, but it doesn't look like it this time round. So I think fresh tires is the way to go. You have to take tires anyway because the mandatory pit stop dictates it. But yeah,
and so
it's not we're not quite there in terms of a gamble of going for dry tires.
Now what we need to look at the moment is getting those windows up to temperature and getting them, you know, set. And I think strategy wise, Nick needs to do it, as I believe Denak may have had a little bit of an incident. No, Denak's heading into the pits. Okay, so we are definitely seeing the strategies play out now. But the key person to watch is when Worshel will take it. Now, as we see Denak coming in, we're going to go ahead and jump to Blade Wolf, as Blade Wolf, you know, had that little bit of a off track there from Old Hall as Blade Wolf was catching up to ThatRacingDragon. Now is closing the gap yet again, slowly but surely. And I'm also interested to see if ThatRacingDragon will feel the pressure and possibly just take the pit to try and undercut.
Yeah, I think touching on Woshel, staying out probably the longest she can before the pit window closes is probably the right call here. Just let the tires, they're nice and hot. Just let them work for you. You know, don't change them unnecessarily. Nick, on the other hand, he's out of position, so he feels he needs to take some tires, get some fresh air in front of him. And again, the likes of Serval and Blade Wolf, I think it's probably just a case of running it for as long as you can, rather than trying to out-strategy someone here.
Yeah, and you know, Worshel is definitely showing the pace to do so. Up 11 seconds, nearly 12 already. You know, Worshel's doing a good job looking after the tires and making the most of the clean air in front as possible. So that's, you know, that's something that, you know, you want to have as a leader. It definitely gives you that breathing room. And so, given that your pace is pretty much far above what you're seeing from your competitors, you know, you can extend the stint as long as possible.
Well, that's the kind of the perk of being out in front of the race. You can dictate your race. You don't have to rely, or you don't have to react to anyone else. You know, you've got the pace to be out in front. You've got a 12-second buffer to the guy behind. So yeah, there's no point in taking any risks here.
Meanwhile, an interesting development leading down near the back of the field. The TIG Gang Racing team is with each other. Both of these drivers have taken their pit stops already, so now this is for position. We'll see what happens here. It could be interesting.
That Nick has gained a position on Danik because he was 4 seconds behind there.
Yeah, Denak did take a pit stop, though. And according to my timing sheets, Denak's pit stop was 4 seconds slower than Nick's.
Yep, so Nick has then gained on track that 4 seconds and more to get, I think, many seconds here? 4 seconds ahead of Danik, so about an 8-second gain in total. So 4 seconds.
Oh, and that's MN_ coming through there, coming out of the pits, and Anka's got to back off just a little bit to avoid an incident there, just letting him, you know, slide through, and possibly it was just helping each other out team, but now they got a... Now we got MN_ and a TIG Gang sandwich here.
Or is it MN_ sandwich?
That's... Should we take it to the comments again?
Why not? Let's have a vote. Is it a TIG Gang Racing sandwich, or is it an MNU sandwich?
But going back to Nick, an interesting thing you want to look out at your timing screens right now. Our average pit stop time looks like it's around 35 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. So you want to take a look at that relative time that Nick has right now, about 41 seconds away from Luna. Possibly another position if Nick can make that time up, get around to 35, maybe 30 seconds, and we'll improve from there.
Absolutely. I think Newbie has the pace to kind of at least jump Luna. Possibly Paula. I'm not too sure what the gap was like there before. Including, we are talking about it, so it's a 40-second pit stop, but that doesn't include your pit lane time as well.
Right.
I think that's just your stop time. So you're looking at about 50 to 55 seconds, I think, for an entire pit stop.
Around thereabouts as we come around here. We're around 3 minutes and 30 seconds from the halfway point. A lot of action so far, at least strategy-wise. But other than the big incident with Nick in the beginning of the race and a couple of spins, things have settled out there.
Yeah, it's been more subdued than I think we were expecting. The weather staying stable seems to play a part in that, as we're not seeing any change in at least the forecast for the next half an hour. But yeah, I think a couple of people are going to be disappointed with this race, and a couple of people are going to be happy with how things panned out. the likes of Blade Wolf looking at their first podium here in the series, and Circle as well. Rochelle obviously wants to do the double, wants to maybe take the championship lead away from Nick here.
Yes, and so as a note right now, as far as the championship goes, first place does get 25 points when they take it away from here. Now, Nick, let's throw out the possibility here that Nick, let's say, makes it up to 4th place, getting past Luna and Paula. So Nick would get 18 points if Nick finishes in 4th place against Werschel's 25. That would put Werschel, if Werschel wins this one, to, I believe, 80 points. And then
So
Nick would be with the 18 points if he finishes...
Rochelle gets an extra point, excuse me, sorry to interrupt you there, extra point for pole position for Rochelle, so it's 26. As we see, I'm just seeing on my screen here, Nick going a little bit wide, so maybe pushing a little bit too hard at the moment.
Oh, possibly. Yeah, now, as we saw, Nick was gaining time, but now dropped a little bit again, back to 40 seconds down on Luna. So with the extra point, excuse me, that would make Werschel 81 points. And with the 18 points from Nick, I believe, would still hold the lead, but not by much. He would go, ooh, something might have happened to his tires. Might have worked them a little too hard.
That's very possible, yeah, they could be overheating. It's not quite as wet as everyone expected. So the track is showing still a damp state. So that can definitely give you a little bit too much heat in the tires.
Yeah, that'll definitely... As we can see here, Paula is going in right now. So this would be a good indicator to see if Nick can get by Paula or if Nick will have to fight. And of course, that's going to mean a more difficult push from Nick to get up even into 4th place, possibly 3rd. But given that...
I think... Even with the mistake of Nick there, I think he's had the pace to kind of close that gap he had to Paula.
Well, we'll see. Paula is in right now, still in the pits. And as far as I can see, yeah, just a little bit wide. We'll take a look at the helipad view. You can see the...
Paula hasn't started moving yet.
No, Paula has not. You can see there was Paula. Paula just started moving as we passed by in the helicam. And so Nick does take that position there. And I believe if we look back, Paula got behind the group as well. So Paula losing places to the TIG gang.
I'm wondering then, either a mistake on track or a long pit stop there for Paula.
Yeah.
Has lost her a net 3 positions.
Yeah, possibly. I know Paula was ahead of Anka and was fighting Denek. But now... Paula's behind both MN underscore and Anka here. Now we have an important pit here. Blade Wolf has pitted right now. So, looking at...
I don't think... it's going to be close, I think. It's going to be close between Blade Wolf and Nick here.
Yeah, I don't think Nick, as we see him right now, is going into Hislops. I don't think Nick is close enough to get that gap there. But also Luna is pitting. Okay, this is an interesting development. So,
so he will definitely... Nick will definitely jump Luna.
Yeah, Nick will...
I think it's going to be really close with Blade.
Yeah, I believe so. We'll see as we can take a look coming back. We can actually see Denek right now. That group...
Am I seeing that correctly? Has Newbie has retired?
Yes, I've lost Newbie on my timing screen. If it wasn't a retirement, it was a hardware fault.
Connection problem.
Yeah. Oh, that is unfortunate.
Ooh.
Oh, that is very unfortunate. That's going to affect the championship run for sure.
Yep. Well, we do have a drop round this series, so this will count as a newbie's drop round. So while it looks painful now, I think depending on how Rochelle does for the rest of the series could determine what happens with newbies' points.
And we see a little train forming here behind Denek. As we're going to go ahead and just take a look at the wing mirror there, you can see that's MN underscore, and then behind him is Anka, and then behind him is Paula.
Yep, a nice train forming here. Paula, I think, probably had the pace to actually get in front of these three. So them being at the back kind of gives us the race to look forward to.
And, I'm not sure what exactly is going on with our timing system right now. Ours is actually still running.
But it looked like they got a drive through.
It may be, but I don't see why Ours... On my relative timing screen, Ours is about 2 minutes from Luna.
I think they might have been speeding in the pits. I can't see it being track limits, but it looks like maybe a speed in the pits penalty for Ours.
Possibly. I'm just going to go ahead and take a look.
Newbie did indeed get disconnected through no fault of their own.
That's unfortunate. That is very unfortunate, and especially when you're running, you know, a nice recovery drive. I'm just going to go ahead and quickly look at Ours. Ours is not stopped. Ours is going through the circuit. So
Ours is showing on my system, at least on my software, he has completed his mandatory stop.
Okay.
I think he got a drive through for speeding in the pit lane during.
Oh,
his
Anka going.
Anka.
Oh! Hitting the wall there at the end of, I believe that at the beginning of Shell Oils. Oh, we'll take a look. It's probably the same bend there. We're gonna go ahead and take a look back real quick at Anka. As we take a look, Anka was catching up on MN underscore there. Got a really nice jump. Was looking. Ooh, that might have unsettled the car there.
Is it a carbon copy of everyone else? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, this one he goes too wide. All wheels there, and oh, that's gonna be some damage. That hopefully not much.
Fair, that could have been a whole lot worse. That's not too bad.
Yeah, that is true. It could have just dove right into the wall. that probably would have meant the end of the race, but Anka managing to keep it in there and keep it going. And I mean, I'm taking a look now. It doesn't seem like Anka is damaged too badly there.
No, it looks okay. Maybe just a slight tap on the rear, but nothing to write home about.
I'll tell you what. I don't think Denak was anticipating 4th place, but I'm pretty sure he'll take it.
Yeah. Considering, what was it, 7th, I think he started?
Yeah, I believe so. It's it's pretty nice. Oh no, 6th place, I think. Denak started in 6th.
Oh, 2 positions is better than no positions.
Oh yes, definitely.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing with MN underscore here. Started 7th. So I mean, good racing so far from Denak and MN underscore. Just, you know, keeping it quiet in the middle, but pulling together a pretty good drive.
Yeah, that's kind of what you want sometimes. It's just a quiet race, but you've gained a few positions, and now you're in a pretty tight battle for 5th with 4th with Denak.
Oh, and MN underscore gets a great jump, but is gonna think better of it and just hangs back behind, maybe braking a little bit harder so as to not hit the back of Denak there. MN underscore was really close there.
Yep, seems to have that car hooked up in the wet a bit more than maybe Denak does.
Yeah, it's what I noticed.
TGR guys just don't seem to be too confident in the wet in that Ferrari.
No. As Denak
a bit wide.
goes wide there and allows MN underscore to go by. And just
a nice free position there for MNU.
And with the struggling, meanwhile, Paula there is also looking to attack Denak, just trying to capitalize on that mistake. Paula just been behind Ferraris all this time and just wants by.
So, I think, judging by the consensus of the chat, we forgot that tiger bread is a thing, so it is indeed a Tigang sandwich.
Ah, yes. Well, then there you have it. It was a Tigang sandwich, and I mean, this is a little bit more of an open Tigang sandwich, but Paula is in one, technically. But
technically,
Our commentators do make a good point. We have cursed so many people on this race specifically.
It's like 4 or 5 times now. This race.
Yes. I think I need to hang up my microphone and retire.
Shall we
for
not
the
talk
safety
the rest of the race?
for the safety of the other drivers. As we can see.
And unfortunately, yeah, it just seems like we've got a pretty heavy.
Oh,
as
Denak.
Denak, excuse me, goes a little bit wide, but keeps the position.
Oh, are there slowdowns in the ACC? That was definitely a cut.
No, there are not, but you could you'll get a warning for that. Probably he did look like it gained actually a little bit of time.
Yeah, he
did.
It looked like around 3/10 maybe.
Yeah, so I would imagine he probably got a warning for that.
Mm. And so, again, forgive the mistake in the timing screen. RS is still running their race. They are still out, and Denak was probably penalized for that.
Oh, they did. They got a drive-through.
I'm not sure. Denak has run through and is now in the pits.
Yep, my game showed me a drive-through for Denak.
Yeah, and there he has completed the drive-through there, and yes, that was a drive-through penalty.
Must have been a 4th warning, or after the 3 warnings.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So it looks like we might then be seeing track limits play into this a little bit.
A little bit.
Because they usually are a little bit more lenient in the game when you're in the wet conditions. But yeah, it looks like at least if Oraz didn't get a drive-through for pit lane speeding, then it would have been for track limits.
And of course, Paula will take that any day of the week.
Yep, absolutely a free position there for Paula.
Yep, gotta love the freebies. And now Wershow's finally in the pits. So Wershow, with 20 minutes left to go, with a nice pit stop, gonna come out far ahead of that Sergo. If I'm not mistaken, maybe about, I want to say, 15 seconds?
Boom. I'm just having a look here. Yeah, probably about 15 seconds.
Thereabouts.
In fact, it hasn't even updated on my screen yet as to what they got. So sorry, 11 and a half.
Yeah, it looks like 11 and a half. Yep. But yeah, no, it's been an unfortunate weekend for the TIG gang. They've just not been able to bring their best stuff today to the circuit.
Yep. Seems like Rochelle's just had another race kind of handed to her. Well, I say that, but they did put the work in, and they did of course get pole position. So the pace was there anyway, regardless of what happened to Newbie.
And MN underscore currently just sitting on the track. Ooh. Oh, and spins again, is trying to reset and has to wait for, I believe that's Luna and Denak. Oh, what an error. Oh, and that's unfortunate. Ooh, that was coming out of, I believe, Cascades.
Oh, the Oraz is lapped there now, so...
Oh, and
Oraz on laps. No, Oraz is actually up to 8. So
Oran's is up. I don't know why our timing screen was pinpointing Oraz as 500 seconds down for the rest of the pack, but there you go. Oraz is now back in the race, and the timing screen is now all good.
Yep. So I'm sure Paula will take that 4th position with no complaining.
Yeah, and barring anything else, it looks like this may be where we're sitting for the time being.
Yep, and judging by my screen, the conditions are going to pretty much stay the same the whole race, so there's not going to be any increase or decrease in rain.
Yeah. But yeah, as we see, my predictions screen at the moment is looking like this order that you see currently is where we'll end up. However, this is 20 minutes left of the race, and
don't say anyone's name in case you curse them.
That's exactly what I'm trying not to do. But you know, it's like I've been cursing a lot of people so far. Why don't I just curse the entire race and just throw out the prediction?
Please don't. Please no. no more cursing.
Uh,
I'm gonna say someone's name,
oh boy. Okay.
and it's gonna be that Anka is catching Paula,
All
and then
right.
Anka's gonna spin off track as soon as I say that.
Well, not yet, thankfully. So it's nothing too much yet. Gets through Britain. So nope, you're safe so far, Fez. You're safe so
Okay,
far.
okay. In that case, oh, sorry, that's Danak. Oh, Blade Wolf has
Oh,
just gone off
Blade.
at Druids.
Oh yeah, Blade has just gone off, but Druids luckily was able to recover. Let's take a quick look at that. Might have just gone really wide there. So here we go. We're with Blade Wolf now. We're gonna go on right on board as we take a look. It was possibly just coming out wide, but we'll see. As Blade Wolf was just on clear track here, and so here we are. This is Druids. Oh, it just runs.
Just understeers.
Yeah, understeers, runs really wide. Just manages to avoid the wall. Ooh, good recovery there to not hit it.
Thankfully, we didn't say his name, so we didn't curse him.
Yep, thankfully.
That wasn't our fault. So he did seem to have a decent enough gap to Paula behind, so no repercussions from that off anyway.
Well,
Loses a little bit of touch to circle in front, but I think that was kind of a mute battle anyway.
at this point, yes, it just seems like it. Looking at the timing screens, I mean, we have Wursha up in front, followed by that circle that's about 13 seconds down. Then 11 seconds down from that circle is Blade Wolf. And then 15 seconds down from Blade Wolf is Paula. So, the top three right now are solid, as it stands.
Yeah. The only two kind of I can see.
Now that I've said that, I'm waiting for the disconnects for all three of them.
Oh no! Don't do it. You can just say the TGR card both look like they're hassling someone. So Danak is just 1.2 behind Luna, and then Anka is about 1.6 behind Paula. So a couple of battles here for the Tig Gang guys. Looking like they're gonna come to fruition soon.
Yeah, you wanna have some fun out there. You don't want to just stay at like a 3-second gap all race.
No, absolutely not.
Of course,
We want drama.
I know one that might want that 3-second gap all race, and that's that Sergo. Just been on their own for the whole race.
Yeah,
Aside
it's
from our leader.
really boring.
Yes, but you'll take the points. I know you'd take the points.
Oh well, absolutely, especially when your main rival is currently sitting on the sofa rather than actually racing because of the game disconnecting.
Oh. Yeah, that's
So it's gonna be it's gonna be a 26-point swing in favor of Wichelle then. So that's gonna be they're gonna surpass their target of 69 points.
it's a battle, and MN underscore is pitting. I believe it's a drive-through for
It
them.
is, yes, it's a drive-through as well.
Yeah.
So we are seeing some track limits then coming into play here. It looks like I think probably into the first chicane of Britain's is probably giving people some that this year chicane that we're looking at is probably the culprit.
Probably. That's... Or possibly going... You'd think maybe going wide on Old Hall Corner or not Druids.
Yeah, Old Hall's probably another one, yeah.
Two strikes. I'm almost at 3. A Lodge Corner.
Lodge Corner, yes, it can be. It's probably a little bit harder to actually get a track limits on because it's such a slow corner. Whereas the likes of Old Hall and Britain's are quite... Old Hall's quite fast and then Britain's quite tight, so... Yeah.
But we're gonna...
Two of the worst culprits for track limits.
We're gonna stay with Anka here, as we can see both Denek and Anka are making partial waves into their respective battlers there. Anka catching up to Paula, or was catching up to Paula. Oh goodness. And then Denek was catching up to Luna. Oh my god.
Hey, can we commentate without saying names?
Excuse me, I'm gonna have to just we're gonna start saying should I use car numbers instead of names? Would that be better?
Yeah, the number 40 catching the number 148 there. And then dropping back a little bit, but back in within that 1 second.
Now, within as we see, and I am going to do this, the number 40 car is coming through here, going through Island Bend into Shell Oils as they're... I think Paula is feeling a little bit of the
Oh,
pressure.
he did it. He did it. He said the name.
I don't know. Well, it seems as the 148 car is immune so far to my
Oh
my
no, you
cursing.
definitely don't know. So you have.
What am I gonna do? I'm supposed to commentate. And so, as we see here, both myself and Fez, since I'm just gonna curse myself at this point. We're having a real fun time with this broadcast.
As long as I don't fall off my chair now because you've said my name, we're fine.
Oh no, no, I don't want, I don't want that. As we see, we're gonna
it's
go.
actually Danak. Yeah, Danak looks like he's closing in there. Luna, as I just cursed both of them.
Yes,
So
you
let's
did.
see what happens.
And so we'll see what
Okay,
happens.
I'm not playing favorites. I'll say both their names.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I wasn't either. I said both their names too. But as we see, so we're looking at here. We're getting close to the 10-minute mark left in the race, and we're seeing a battle starting to brew just a little bit between the number 54 and 8 cars. We have the Ferrari, the number 54, now looking like they're attacking really nicely the number 8 Porsche. And so we'll see. Luna is just driving nicely. And I have nothing further to say because I said the name. But the number 8 car, however, is defending really well.
So at this point in the race, at least, it looks like the number 54 is looking a little bit more confident through the corners, using a little bit more road than the number 8 car. So yeah, still 11 minutes left. So plenty of time for this battle to rage on.
Yeah, definitely. And again, looking up a little further, ooh, a little bit spicy there going through that, going through Britain's, taking a lot of that curb. You see the car bounce a little bit.
Actually, one of my favorite corners on this track in the dry, because you can kind of just send the car over the curb and it takes it. Oh, that's a big bounce there over the curb for the number 8, number 54 car, should I say?
Yeah, no, and
3-0 is here.
it always makes me wonder, because this is another thing I really liked about ACC's tire model, is the fact that if you are too aggressive on curbs or bumps, you can leak the tires.
Yep, so I think that came in around the British GT pack, actually, because of how aggressive the curbs are at Oulton Park, especially coming out of Knickerbrook. That outside curb at Knickerbrook has a massive dip on the just at the edge of the curb. And I've so many times I've come over there and lost about a psi of pressure coming over that curb, because the tire dips, and then you kind of come off the curb again. It kind of pulls the tire, rather than so it's not the actual running on the curb that loses the pressure. It's running over and off the curb, and then back on. So you're kind of pulling the tire away from the rim, coming back onto the track.
So you can see there, you just hear the engine notes of the Ferrari as we ride on board the number 54 car here. There's a little bit more, it seems like hesitation or backing off from Island Bend coming into Shell Oils. It seems like more just gauging. Whoa, really aggressive on the curbing there from number 54, and as a result 5/10 are lost, and that's gonna put a dent in the run.
Yep, so Island Bend is in the dry. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. If it's flat out or not, it depends on kind of your line. In the wet, it's definitely not a flat out corner. As we see Blade Wolf. Oh, Blade Wolf gonna drive through.
Oh, yes. Taking a look, Blade Wolf did get a drive through. Oh no, is this my prediction? The curse coming true. That's one of the top 3. Thankfully, it
doesn't look like it's going to cost him any positions.
Not as much, but that's Paula you see behind. So,
yep.
Not as devastating, but certainly something to keep an eye out, especially when you've been running that well this whole time. And then we're going to hop back to
really,
Denak here.
Really surprising. Oh, hello.
And so, again, oh.
Good run out of.
It's good to run. He may have it here. It looks
there.
like it. They're side by side. Oh, close and backs off just a little bit. That way coming through Island Bend is not too much of a struggle. Oh! As it looks like Luna made another mistake. Now, Denek has to go outside.
No,
but goes really wide. Oh, just grazes the wall. And I think that's going to be the end of that battle.
Yeah. So, a little bit ambitious there to go around the outside at Shell Oils. And it put him onto the grass, and once you hit the grass, you basically no steering, so you're straight into the barrier then.
Yeah, and one of the things you have to consider, especially on wet courses, is that, you know, now you're taking a line that is not dry, that's not been running on the tires, so you're going to have less grip. And so, especially on the outside of those curbs, you know, once you hit that understeer, there's nothing to save you because there's no grip on the outside of the corner.
Yep. And...
Denek goes a little wide again. I apologize. I went off just as I was going to go to Anka there, but we're going to hop back on to Anka here as Anka's now been putting consistent pressure on Paula here. And yes,
my question is, what are these two like for track limits? Because if they're going to be the hard-fought battle, they really need to start looking after their track limits.
Well, Paula has looked like they have been taking it easy in terms of going through the track so far. I've noticed there was a lot of parts as Paula has not been, you know, really pushing the edges of the track limits. I noticed when Paula was with Denek, and I think that's also another reason why Paula has been rather conservative on their pace. But I think that might help in this case because Paula has been defending really well.
Yep, absolutely. Just holding the fort kind of the whole race. Obviously, Newbie got past her quite early on, but yeah, she seems to be having quite a decent defensive drive here. A couple of free positions, you'll never complain of those. So yeah, it looks like Paul's, at least as long as she can keep it on the road here and doesn't get the drive through, as I just cursed him again. It looks like they're going to be in for a fourth position here.
At this place, at this point, I'm at Bird Bridge Central. I'm saying all of their names.
No surrender. No prisoners.
They can. I will happily be the one to blame. But yes, we're coming down to the final 5 minutes here at Oulton Park. Wurshow up in front, as you can see on the timing tower in your top left of your screen, has been absolutely dominant throughout this entire performance. Wurshow grabbed the pole, has taken the lead, and as you can see here, has pulled a 17-second gap to that Sergo. Nick, which unfortunately has retired and is not on the timing screen, was second, had a little incident up there at the start of the race, and was going through a great recovery drive, coming from last to basically nearly the podium positions. But I believe, did we get news if it was a network disconnect or a hardware issue?
I think it was just a network disconnect.
And that's
no kind of explanation rather than just, disconnected. So I would imagine that's probably just a network issue then.
And so thankfully there is a drop race, and we'll most certainly see Nick next week.
Well, that's kind of why I like having the drop races, because you don't like to see championships decided on this kind of factor. You as Spider-Man says, everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one. But I chalk it up to, for my sim racing career, I've had a couple of those myself, and I really chalk it up to, in real racing, when you have a mechanical failure.
Yeah.
That's what I chalked that up to. It's like, it wasn't in your control as a driver. You did your best, but, something still happened.
Yeah. It's funny because you'll get people complaining, on the likes of the Discords afterwards. Oh, we would have won that if we hadn't have disconnected. And like, yes, and Toyota would have won Le Mans if their car didn't break down in the last lap in 2017. But it did happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that analogy. That's a good one. I'm gonna have to use that later on. I'll possibly use it on a later broadcast. But as we can see here, you know, Anka and Paula, they're together, and you know, I think Anka is just settled into this position right now. Of course, I believe what Anka is doing is trying to set this up for the last lap of the race.
Yeah,
I
like we were
believe.
saying earlier, you need to start like 3 corners earlier before you actually want to make the pass. So right now, just sitting behind her, maybe towards his slops here, through the nose, a little bit, jinx out a little bit from the line. Doesn't seem to lose any time
Yeah,
as
but
they come through the Niggerbrook. And this is when I would start kind of putting the pressure on, you know, showing the nose a bit more, going a little bit deeper on the brakes to make it look like you're kind of, you know, you're braking a little bit too late and stuff like that. And that kind of plays on the mind of the car in front.
yeah, but Paula definitely, you know, making a decent display of holding their line throughout the course and just hitting the apexes and
See that?
exits.
It went a little bit wide.
It's just a little bit, but we'll see if Anka's gonna make the move here. Doesn't seem to be closing in quick enough, though. But maybe the setup for later on, coming through Cascades onto Lakeside.
Yep. Definitely a little bit closer now. This time than last lap. Anka, I think, sees that little mistake into large corner and has decided that probably now is the time to push. Probably one more lap to go after this one.
Yeah, possibly one more lap to go after this. I believe Werschel should be coming to the start-finish line soon, within the next, I believe, 20 seconds, if less, maybe 10.
Yeah, they're just coming through to large corner now.
We're going to go ahead and take a look real quick. Go back to Werschel. Yeah, Werschel right now in the Deer Leap corner coming through. And as we can see, that is the white flag, as you hear the white flag last lap call. And so Werschel, for the final time today, will come around. And we shall see when the checkered flag flies where we all finish here today. Heading back over now to Anka and Paula. They're coming now up around, I believe that's to Druids coming through Water Tower?
Yeah, it is. That's Druids now. Yep.
Yeah. And then they're going to have one more lap to fight it out here. And we'll see.
So you really need to start pushing now. You really need to start kind of really putting pressure on the driver in front. They're not going to make a mistake on their own. You're going to have to force it. So just pull out wherever you can. Just show the nose, flash the lights, do whatever you can to try and get the driver in front.
And we can
get a little bit distracted.
We can see here, Anka. It's just it seems like that Mercedes is just pulling a little bit more power coming out of, at least in the straights. The Ferrari just using the slipstream right now to stay behind, but just staying behind isn't enough on the last lap. You need to push. And Anka trying here, as this is one of the places you can do it. But it's going to let it slide going into Island Bend. Will he try and throw something here? And oh, but keeping it real close, putting the pressure on, and Shell Oils really staying behind Paula now, really putting the pressure on. And Anka's going to have to continue putting the pressure to set up the pass on the last lap here. Anka's going to have to stay close coming out. And Werschel, meanwhile, has crossed the start-finish line. Werschel, your winner here, has won Oulton Park here today at the Simufur Silver Championship. What a drive from Werschel from start to finish. I believe taking the Grand Slam.
Yeah, Grand Slam. She needs to be a little bit careful just with this these displays here. There we do have rules on when and where you can do that, so she needs to be a little bit careful, possibly.
And we're going to come back over.
We'll go back to this battle as we come up to large corner.
This is it. This is coming to the last corner.
Happening.
And no, Anka's just going to let it sit here. And with that,
a little bit wide, maybe.
Maybe.
Run to the corner.
I don't believe it's going to be enough, as Paula finishes in front of Anka. And then, of course, as we missed, Sergo finishing second, and Blade finishing in third. Luna pulling in here, sixth. And then right behind, you see on your screen, that is Denak finishing. And then Araz coming up from behind Here, coming around, Deer Leap again. RS finishing through it. And then, of course, we have, I believe, MN underscore rounding out your grid here. Coming around through the final few corners, heading up into Lodge, then through Deer Leap. And that will be your race today. I mean, again, a dominant performing Wershel, taking it all today. Fastest lap, pole position, and the race win.
Yep, so as far as I'm aware, that will be 16 points in the lead of the championship now, I believe.
I believe.
Over Nick. Who was third? It was Danak.
I believe Danak.
So Danak, with the 7th place, might actually overtake Newbie as well. But of course, we do have that job round, so I think actually, well, no, Newbie didn't finish, so they won't get the 10 points for 10th place. If they had stayed on track, or even had rejoined the race a couple of laps down, that would have at least allowed them to score the points for 10th place. But because they disconnected and didn't come back, then they do not get to score points.
Right, and so as it stands right now, I believe, Wershel with a strong display, now taking 2 wins in a row, as a matter of fact.
Yep, our only driver in the championship so far to win more than one race.
And both in the rain, might I add.
Both in the rain, yeah.
Yeah, so we may be seeing a talented rain driver on our hands. It's definitely displayed here, both, today and last week. And, of course, Wershel will take the points, making it look easy out there with that Porsche, getting the gap, keeping it there, and the strategy working all together. And then, of course, surprising turn, ThatRacingDragon, with their 2nd place here. Is that their first podium in this championship?
I believe it is, yes.
Yes, and a strong display and performance there. I mean, again, just like Wershel, just on their own, but keeping it nice and calm, nothing big going on. We haven't been able to spend as much time on them, but taking 2nd place and, a decent run altogether. Blade Wolf with a few mistakes, but a strong enough display to take their first podium of the championship in 3rd place here. And an impressive drive all around. Thankfully, the mistakes did not affect the ending for them. And, of course, with Nick that was on top, it was going to be a challenge to get to the podium. But Blade Wolf, I'm sure, absolutely ecstatic to get where they're at. Then, of course, with Lead Paul Racing, Paula Brandy in 4th place. A good display of defense through the ending stages of that race and taking everything in stride, from pit stops to a few mistakes out there on track, just managing to keep the car in there, and ends up with a 4th place finish. Rounding up your top 5 here, Take Gang Racing Anka, of course. I will say, from after talking to him earlier, impressive first race on Oulton Park. Even with, I believe, that mistake into, Island Bend, which has caught up a lot of our drivers today, manages to get a top 5 position. Then Luna in 6th place, another decent run from them, and Danak in 7th, Take Gang Racing. A few mistakes there, dropping them back, and we have the pace, but there's still a lot of racing to go. RS Volpez in 8th place, and then MNU 9th place, and then with the retirement, Nick, which it's unfortunate to the implications of the championship, but he'll be back out next week gunning for that top spot.
Yep, absolutely. Next week's going to be very interesting. We go to a brand new circuit we've never raced on before here at Simufur. So, Valencia it is.
Yes. Going to be quite the race there. And I believe Plasma will be back commentating with you, Fez, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I believe he will be.
All right. Well, with that, we hope you enjoyed your time here today. That will conclude today's broadcast of Oulton Park and the race for the Simufur Silver Championship. I've been Paliku'i, ThatRacingDragon, with FezzFox, and we all wish you a good day and have a good one.
See you next week.